area where there was a shooting going on. And they also were able to effect a tactical rescue of a young child that was left at home alone that was very close to the proximity of 14 Country Club Road. And even most recently, last week, North Reading had a purse snatching at one of our local retail stores. It was an 82-year-old female. She was pushed aside and her pocketbook taken. Our officers, our detectives and our officers did an analysis, crime analysis. They were able to identify the vehicle and the suspects. They got a warrant for those individuals. They broadcast that to our local communities, and guess who made the stop and the arrest? It was a detail officer that made that stop and an arrest. So we have actual examples that there is value to having these officers augment our regular staff. So if there's any doubt in your mind, the average detail rate for the North Reading Police Department is about $47 an hour versus the $37 an hour for flaggers. So that $10 an hour difference, first of all, I don't think that you're going to realize a personal savings in your pocketbook, and I don't really think that the town is going to receive that, since most of our details have to do with utilities, and it's kind of a gray area as to whether this flagger bill will impact public utility work. And the last point I want to make is that $10 an hour provides me and our community in general with an awful lot of comfort, realizing you have these skilled, trained, dedicated police officers that are available in a moment's notice to respond to any kind of crisis in this community. Thank you.
Chief Purnell.
I'll make a motion to move the question. I think the town ought to negotiate with the union.
I had a lot of hands up. Mr. Messeri.
When the board put this article on the warrant initially, it was at the beginning.
Mr. Moderator, point of order.
Mr. Rowe.
The question has been moved. The question has been moved. Nobody else should be speaking. Mr. Purnell got up and asked for the question to be moved. My understanding is, and it has happened in the past, nobody's allowed to speak unless they defeat the motion to move the question.
Not when that many hands are up, Mr. Rowe, and not when only one side of a debate has been heard.
Mr. Moderator, that never entered into the question before, because I've been here when that has happened. There's only been one side. The question has been moved. That ends the debate, period.
Mr. O'Leary.
It most certainly has, Mr. O'Leary. That's not true. And I don't think this is right. The question has been moved.
The point of moving to the question is when the debate is endless and both sides have been heard. We've only heard one side of the debate. Mr. Messeri.
The recommendations of the board are as follows, and I'll just go back. We put the article on the warrant, and the language on the warrant is very general because at the time we were still working on more specific language, and therefore it is the board's recommendation to vote no on this article and to allow us to enter into negotiations with our labor unions.
Does the Finance Committee wish to make a recommendation? Mr. Westerfeld.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The score is 0-0, bottom of the fourth.
That is correct. End of the fourth. My BlackBerry's faster.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are actually in very difficult financial times. Article 11 is our opportunity to take one small step forward to ease these difficult times. Article 11 provides us with the opportunity to leverage less expensive civilian flaggers versus more expensive police details. The article represents real savings to all of us, both as taxpayers and as consumers. Some say it compromises safety. The Finance Committee reviewed the article and contends it represents an excellent balance between safety and cost. The facts about this article that we considered include: one, that for any given detail, Chief Nolan decides whether or not a civilian detail or a police detail is most appropriate. Two, it does not apply to state projects, as Chief Nolan identified, similar to the recent Route 62 project. It only applies to construction site projects within North Reading as the awarding authority. Massachusetts is the only state in our country that actually does not utilize civilian flaggers. Civilian traffic flaggers are required to obtain construction site certification. They're also required to possess emergency first aid medical skills. According to our State Executive Office of Transportation, civilian flaggers cost approximately $33 per hour. Police details cost approximately $38.50 per hour. However, due to overtime rates and minimum work hours, police details cost an additional 29%. Now, in reference to the minimum work hours, our North Reading police officers actually waive the minimum work hour for any construction projects that involve our DPW. However, non-DPW details, such as those for Comcast or Verizon, are done in 4-hour work minimums. Adversaries contend that the taxpayers aren't paying for these details, and that is factually true. However, each of us as consumers pay for these details, not in the form of taxes, but in the form of increased rates. Adversaries also argue that having police on construction sites increases police presence and deters crime. The Finance Committee agrees. However, the Finance Committee contends that on smaller, low-volume North Reading roadways, the costs associated with increased police presence and deterring crime is not a good value. I leave you with this thought. If we trust North Reading crossing guards to ensure the safety of our school children on their way to school, why can't we trust civilian flaggers to maintain order at our construction sites at nearly a 30% savings? Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee unanimously recommends Article 11.
Mr. Mari, are you seeking recognition for purposes of a presentation?
Yes, I am.
Would you please come down to the front? And please identify yourself to town meeting.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Thomas Mari. I'm a business agent for Teamsters Local 25 in Boston. I represent all the patrolmen and sergeants the North Reading Police Department.
Mr. Murray.
I'm here tonight. I had a lot of things to talk about. Chief Nolan is on the same exact page as I am. He explained the pros of police officers. He explained the cons of the flaggers. But I'm here before you tonight just to say a few words. I won't take long. Teamsters Local 25 represents approximately 70 residents who live in North Reading. We also represent approximately 200 Teamster members who work for companies that are located here in North Reading. Teamsters Local 25 is here tonight to stand in opposition of the Board of Selectmen's Home Rule petition to replace our highly trained North Reading police officers with civilian flaggers. Currently, Teamsters Local 25 and the town of North Reading have a collective bargaining agreement which outlines the process in which traffic details are administrated. Some of the current selectmen, not all, are attempting to evade this provision, the collective bargaining agreement, by asking you, the residents, to vote on this home rule petition, the hope that the legislature will consider it, which has to happen once this is done. It still needs to be considered by the legislation. The law enforcement members of Teamsters Local 25 want to maintain a professional and respectful relationship with the selectmen of North Reading and want to go on record that traffic details have been a subject of collective bargaining for many years here in this town. And it should remain in that forum, not here tonight. The union and the town finished our negotiations on our present collective bargaining agreement early in 2008, at which time the town never proposed to change the way details are assigned. Not once. There was not one written proposal to this union. I stand before you and ask you on behalf of your North Reading Police, vote no, stand together, and tell the town, bargain this issue. Thank you very much.
My name is Diane Norris. I live at 240 Elm Street. And because I am somebody who abuts Route 62, I enjoyed the presence of our special detailed police officers for 2 years while I commuted back and forth to work going east and west on Route 62, and I appreciate it. But I am very confused about where we are as a town meeting. The previous speaker, who I don't think was a resident of North Reading, may not be as familiar with town meeting practice as somebody such as I am, who've been coming since 1966. I appreciate the chief's presentation of the issue, and I appreciate particularly his focus that this is an issue that has been a subject of bargaining, and that in a sense we need to be paying attention to that. I also hear the former speakers say this is a bargaining issue. I heard the Board of Selectmen say they were passing over this so that they could go and discuss it in bargaining. So I'm not exactly certain why we're still discussing it. It seems we voted to hear it so that we could talk about it, but the Board of Selectmen wants to bargain it, and nobody got more applause than the previous speaker. So I'd like to have a clarification from Mr. Moderator, through you to Chief Nolan. What exactly are we trying to do here?
Chief Nolan.
Mr. Moderator, Mrs. Norris, I believe we're trying to defeat this so it goes before the Board of Selectmen and our town administrator in the proper forum, that is collective bargaining negotiations.
And through you, Mr. Moderator, isn't that the reason the Board of Selectmen wanted to pass it over?
Yes.
So we're, in a sense, all in agreement.
Yes.
Got it.
Welcome to North Reading. Ma'am.
Pat Fillmore, 24 Fieldcrest Terrace. I just have two questions. You talk about flagmen and training and